Hi, I'm going to quickly show you how you can just go open a brand new session or take an existing session that you have. And what I want to do is I want to make certain that my effects are part of my scoped in so that they'll actually change per act per scene. So let's just go to session structure. We're going to hit default all. And I'm going to just throw in just a wipe out of a full on session. We're going to call this Mike. Let's just rewrite over that. So Mike. And I hit save. Okay, so what I basically have done is I've just done a blank session as a default. This is a good starting point. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to throw an effect. Now to actually add an effect into my effects rack, if I come in here and I hit new, I pick a device and I pick a preset of that device, it automatically loads it into my rack. A better way to do that is to actually come over here, go to your aux send. Let's just go to a mono or stereo aux send. And I'll pick the delay, and let's just go ahead and put in a 10 tap delay. Let's go to the next one, and we're going to go ahead and hit a plate reverb or something. Okay, so I quickly put in effect. I would then go to an input channel as a return. We'll just make a couple of stereo channels here. Make this one stereo as well. And then come back to that first one, because I only have two effects. And hit main input, internal, effects. Now as a note, you would not see these unless you've actually had something rack mounted in your effects rack, or if you hit the aux effects, this page right here, and actually picked something on the effects output, so you'd actually have something loaded. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, back to the, and I'm sorry, that was actually on the other page here. Right in that bay. So what I'll do is I'm going to just go ahead and bring those two effects back as a return. We're just going to ripple both channels, strips. I'm going to hit effects, and bang, as you'll notice, it automatically loaded those names in there for my effects. Okay. Now, for snapshots, I want to go ahead and just insert a scene. Let's just go ahead and insert a few scenes. Okay. So we'll just hit insert, 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 and you'll notice earlier we just put in two effects. And I patch these into aux send 5 and 6, which are a couple of stereo sends. Okay. Now, if I want these to change the settings per act per scene under my global scope, I need to make certain that this is selected as a green, which is the default settings. So just as a idea, let's just go to scene number 1. Let's look at my effects, and I usually like to just go to my aux outputs. If I click on this, it's going to actually display that. So let's go ahead and take my delay time to 1 second in scene number 1, and you'll see the star saying, hey, you need to go ahead and update that current scene. That basically stores it. On the SD8 and above, you could also put this in auto update, so it would just automatically update that, and that's also scopable as well, but we'll talk about that another time. So now, just as a recap, under this, in scene number 1, it's a 1 second delay, just to be drastic. When I go to scene number 2, this will go back to that default where I had it, and then you had it at 300 milliseconds. And that is how we have it in all the other scenes. So in scene 3, it is also in 300 milliseconds, and so on and so forth. Now, let's go ahead and I want to add one more effect here into my rack. So instead of me just adding one effect, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to hit Edit Range. I'm going to hit Select All Scenes, and then I come over here and I add another effect. So I've picked the next stereo effects end. Let's go ahead and do a hall reverb, and I'm going to just move this little tab out of the way. Let's go ahead and hit large hall. We'll go ahead and I'm going to take this all the way down to, one, well, let me just take that all the way off. Okay, so that's off. I've actually loaded it. Let's actually come in here, and you know what? I want to make another stereo channel here. So I make that stereo. The reality is I want to have this effect 1, effect 2, effect 3. So I just basically come into here, and I'm going to just repatch that. Internal, I'm going to ripple it 3 channel strips worth, effects. And again, I just start at my first effect. And you'll notice what it just did is it patched my first effect, my second effect, and my third effect. And then I hit confirm. What that did is that mounted that rack unit from the aux send number I think it was number 7. Yeah, from number 7. So we've got these 3 aux sends are driving my effects. I then came over to here and I have those 3 effects coming back in, let me just move that out of the way. Coming back in these 3 stereo channels. Okay. Now, because in this global, the global scope, because I actually have my effects as a green check mark under the recall, so it pulls it up per act per scene, or in the auto update. That's part of the other desks that can do the auto update. It's going to automatically per act per scene allow me to actually change my effect settings. If I wanted to run in a rock and roll mode, meaning if I change an effect on this aux send to, we'll say, 6 echoes, and I wanted to ripple that all the way through the entire show, well, then what I'm going to do is just go ahead and disable that. So then anything you do to manually change any of these will ripple through all scenes. Most guys want to pre-program their show with their effects, so per act per scene it will automatically have the predetermined delay times or different reverb time that you want. So you want to just make certain that, again, back in the global scope, really, which is the default setting, these 2 items are actually have a green check. All right, so let's go ahead and show that. I'm going to go ahead and on my effects, let's actually close this up. Let me just go to scene number 6, and I'll show you this. So in scene number 6, my delay, I'm going to make that a 1 second delay. Come back into my actual snapshot memory here, and I'm going to just update that update because I made a change. So I just essentially stored it. Now let me go to scene number 5. You'll see it change. Let me go back to scene 6 so you can see how per act per scene I can actually change this. Update that. So now whatever scene I'm in, let's take that way down there. Update that. We'll load up scene, so scene 3, scene 4, scene 5, scene 6. Hope that helps you out. Have a great day.